It gives me an immense pleasure to be here. It's for two reasons. One is, I think on Arthakranti I am giving a third lecture in Belgaum, and the receptiveness in Belgaum is so much that I do get a lot of emails and phone calls after the lecture asking some questions, which is a very nice sign, I suppose. The second reason is I am seeing a young crowd here. Rabindranath Tagore once said that you cannot step in the same river twice. But I think looking at the audience, I am trying to prove him wrong, and I am trying to step in the same river twice. Because when I look at you, I remember my college days too. The demand is always driven by two things. One is the need, and second is the purchasing parity. In this country, 125 crore people have need. The dress I wear, a rickshawala wants to wear too. The food I eat, a roadsider wants to eat too. A beggar wants to eat the same food I would wish to eat. I wish to live I live somewhere, he wishes to live in the same house too. All 125 crore people have needs, and unfortunately, only 32% people have the parity to purchase the need. That's why the demand of India is always an ambiguous figure, is always a less figure than what it should be. So we don't have a purchasing parity because as per the food security bill when it came, whatever the primary report came before launching the bill was saying that there were 61% people in this country whose per day income is 20. But in India, I met Satish Seth, Vice Chairman of Anil Ambani Group. We had a presentation to him, and he said, I have 7,000 people in my company doing the tax compliances. 7,000 people in the employment of 61,000 people in direct and indirect employees of Reliance Group, Anil Ambani. 6,000, 7,000 people are for tax compliances. Then the third thing I understood is, if the whole industry, like, there is a simple example I will give you, and industry people will understand. If your turnover is crossing, and maybe it is for Maharashtra, I am saying, I don't know what the taxes in Karnataka, but basically country level taxes I am talking about. So if you make a product, you innovate a product and start producing that product, your turnover reaches to 1 crore, you suddenly come in the purview of excise duty. So most of the people, they make the turnover up to 99 lakhs, open another unit with XYZ, another name, and put some product there. And that also goes to 99 lakhs of turnover, again they open a third unit. What this does is, there is no branding for the product which they innovated, because the product gets scattered in various companies. Second thing is, the moment they cross 1 crore turnover, their product gets dumped with 16% more charges and the price goes up. Always remember, in production cycle of a company, whatever you do to the product till the end of packing the product and dispatching the product is all value addition. And whatever gets applied to the product after the product is dispatched is a cost addition. The 100 rupees product automatically becomes 116 rupees product if the turnover is more than 1 crore and the product is going out, excise duty is applied, the product becomes incompatible in the market. So one consider 60% of these people, they don't have a purchasing power. Whosoever 20-25% people are running the industry and making the 14% contribution in the GDP from industry side, they are so much tied with the compliances that they don't have time to innovate. And the third thing is, most of the people in the country, though the project name called Arthakranti, it is not a Kranti as I was explaining him, it is just a technical correction. Most people do not understand the difference of economics and finance. What is money in the system? What is air in the environment? So I am breathing this air, you are breathing the air. I cannot say I am breathing, you cannot breathe, because it's a medium on which we all live. Money is a medium in the economics financial system. So when I make money, 1,000 rupees note, if I keep in my wallet, nobody can use it other than me. I made the medium to commodity. If this note is in the bank, somebody can use it. In this country, where 11,65,000 crore is the revenue of taxes, I think the cash economy is 25 lakh crore, or we don't know how much it is. There is no measure to guess it even. So the money is not medium. That's why people have money in suitcases, bathrooms, containers. And that's why we have a more higher denomination currency note, because that makes us make it commodity easy. It's a vehicle for making the commoditization of money. And that's the biggest problem. So Arthakranti, why I got attracted to, with all thinking about all these things and worked on Wall Street for 12 years, I always got puzzled that why there is an issue. Then Arthakranti has a solution I am convinced about. Then I become a national spokesperson and I'm speaking to various people in the country. But for that, we need to really understand the economic and current reality of the country. Every floor, in the case of country, this building has different floors. Called one is interest on external debt. Second is the cost of running government. Third is the national security. Fourth is the infrastructure, agriculture. Need of common man is another floor. So the overhead tank water is reaching to every floor and it is not reaching to some of the floors. And the reason for this is there is no enough water in the overhead tank. So what happens? There is a down tank. The water gets pulled from this tank to the upper tank to supply it to all floors of the building. It doesn't happen that way because there is no enough water in the lower tank. The water is not reaching because there is a leakage of the water from the old and the rusted pipeline of the building. Government gets confused. There's a lot of, they don't understand where the money is going. What they do is they try to bring some tanker, which is called FII, FDI, where the money gets poured in. They try to fill, they think there is no water in the tank. So they try to fill the tank. The tank goes up, but again the water is leaking out, which is the black money, and the overhead tank remains as it is. There is not much progress happening, no matter tankers after tankers are arriving here and trying to fill up the lower tank. It doesn't help. The reason for this is the pipeline, which I said it is rusted and there is some leakage in the pipeline. Now you will ask me a practical question, why there is a leakage and why somebody is not correcting the leakage. So I will tell you, we all add to the leakage. How? When I go to a store and buy something and I say don't give me receipt, I have created that much black money in the economy. It is that simple. If I go to purchase something, I said I want to avoid VAT, I want to avoid some sales tax, I said don't give me receipt, just give me without receipt. So whatever that amount I am paying to the shopkeeper, that is the black money because it is not accounted for. There is no taxes on that money. It may be accounted for in his books, but he will try to show it based on the receipt, the income, not the income he is getting without receipts. If I buy a flat, a house, with paying 40% as black amount, that much black money I have created. I have not only created, I have created a person who has that much black money. So it multiplies with the people as it gets handover. So this is the black money always gets because of the complex taxation system. Having said that, how many taxes we pay, you think? How many taxes we pay? 52 types of different taxes, direct and indirect. And I can run you the list. When I did a presentation to BJP Parliamentary Board, our current Finance Minister, Honorable Arun Jaitley, has asked me a question saying that, what do you mean by putting some transaction tax? You want me to put tax on farmer? हमारी ज़मानतें जब्त हो जाएगी, हम चून नहीं आ सकते. So I said, Mr. Jaitley, who has told you that farmers doesn't pay tax? He said, no. I said, farmer doesn't pay income tax. Farmer pays tax on pesticide 32%. Farmer buy whatever the medicine or whatever he brings to grow something, the seeds, he pays 17% tax. He brings a cloth, he pays 11% tax. Forget about that. The person labor working on his farm at remote place who buys a Parle glucose packet of 10 rupees, he has already paid 4% CST, it's including the price. So farmer pays a tax. Everybody in this country pays tax. Farmer doesn't pay income tax, and fortunately or unfortunately farmer doesn't have an income. That's why 4 lakhs farmers have suicided. So in this country there is a huge confusion about whether somebody is paying taxes or not paying taxes. We all are paying taxes. If I don't pay tax, if I don't have a tax, I will buy petrol tomorrow at the rate of 46 rupees a litre. If I don't have to pay any tax and excise duty. So we all are paying taxes, and because of that we all have a mindset of avoiding paying taxes, and that's a leakage of the pipeline. The more complex taxation system, the tax compliance, the returns, the queries coming, industries raided by various tax departments, all that comes to a place where people are trying to avoid. And the whole CA community, we are such a brilliant country's architect, I call them, they are working to help their clients to get their taxes reduced by managing some income here and there. They are doing their job, I am not against them. What I am trying to say that because of the complex taxation system, why farmers are suiciding, you think? Because they are not getting money, their floor is not getting water. The money is not, it is not reaching them. So they want to buy the money, or they want to get the money from the underground economy, which is a 2% or 3% interest they pay per month. And that's why the money lenders are making their life miserable. They are not able to repay the loan, they are not even repay the interest, and that's how they suicide, because they don't have a credit. When I said 61% people don't have a credit, I will give an example of my driver. I used to have a driver and I used to pay him by check, and he ran away one day. And I said, why you are running away? Why you are not working? He said, no, give me cash. I said, I will not give you cash. I will open a bank account for you. I will give an ATM card. I will be guarantor to your bank account, but I will pay you by check. And he never understood. He said, no, but I need a cash. I said, you can remove the cash when you want by ATM. It took us 6 months to convince each other, and finally he got convinced, and then he stayed for 2 years. And then he, after 2 and 3 years, he wanted to buy a house. And then he went to the bank. I said, bank will give you loan. He said, no, I don't have any asset to keep mortgage. I said, you don't have to have any asset. I will talk to bank. I go to bank and I said, this is a salary certificate. I pay him by check. I paid him for last 2.5 years. Bank has given him 3 lakhs of rupees loan, because there is a credit for him in the bank. There is a person work at our house. There is a lady works at our house. We call it Kamwali. That person comes to our house, and we always tell that this person is so old, she is with us for last 50 years, even her mother was with us. And we always say this with the proud, but that lady doesn't have a 1 rupee credit in the market. When that lady needed money, we throw money to him. We said, okay, take this. You want 50,000, take, I will pay. But we have given her always a cash. We never thought that we should have a bank account for her, which we should open, and then we should pay money in that, so that she will have some money history in the bank. That lady, after working so honestly in our house, we have all kind of dependency on her, doesn't have a rupee credit in the bank. Her name doesn't appear in the financial system of the country as a country person, or as a person who has some prestige. 61% population has the same problem. With this Jan Dhan scheme, I think there are a lot of accounts will open. That's a different story. But 61% of the population doesn't have a credit. They don't have there is no name for them in any bank. There is no financial transaction on their name. So this country will never have a purchasing parity unless we have some system where people have some bank accounts, some bank transaction compulsory. And if you see today, as Chidambaram said when he was a finance minister in Lok Sabha, I don't know, it may be 3 times or it may be 4 times, or I really don't know what I don't know. That's the size of the black economy of the country than the real economy. So the phase which is gone so big that it is like a government of India today. And that this picture shows the economic reality of the country. And the basic issue for this is there is no money flowing in the money is not used as a medium. It is always, and that's what the commoditization of the money has happened. Withdrawal of all taxes, complete taxation system excluding import duty and custom. Now why import duty and custom is included? Because import duty and custom tax, they are not considered for revenue, they are there to balance the international trade. Because if China is making something and dumping in my country, if I don't have a regulator like custom duty or import duty, my market will be full of Chinese goods. To regulate that, we always have the custom duty or import duty. So barring those, cancel all the complete taxation system, cancel all the taxes. Do not keep any taxes. All these 52 types of different taxes should go. Now you will ask me a question that where the income will come for government. The income will come from a transaction tax, which we are saying a marginal 2% for a discussion sake. It can go to 1% in future, or it can be even 1% the implementation depending on the collection of the money through the transaction tax. But consider a transaction tax which is 2%. This deduction is to be effected on receiving and credit accounts. Means if I pay you somebody a check of 100 rupees, then in his bank account 98 rupees will be deposited, 2 rupees will be cut as a 2% notional transaction tax. When I am giving him check, I don't have to pay anything. In that 2%, 70% will go to central government, 70 paisa of those 2 rupees will go to central government, 60 paisa will go to state government, 35 paisa will go to local government, and 35 paisa will go to the transacting bank as the percentage distribution of these 2 rupees. Now why? Today what happens to various states, if you consider the whole country's economy and various states, like say Assam is a state which produces oil for us. Just go to Government of India website or go to their gazettes and you will find out there are 30 years so far where government has not paid their state amount for that income which they make to the national economy. They are not, because government doesn't have money to pay their dues. In Maharashtra or in any Karnataka where they are contributing to national economy, the states are demanding their percentage for that because they have to run the state and the income is made on their state. There is a lot of disputes going on this. Most of the revenue laws are also here to mitigate this risk, but they are not getting successful in last 60 years. So we say that at the time of deduction of a tax, at the time of deduction of receiving a revenue, just deduct the amount there itself so that all the government bodies gets the income at that moment because it's a bank transaction. Then we also say that bank has to get, because this country has 14 lakhs 86,000 villages. And with the before the Jan Dhan scheme what Prime Minister has brought, when we did there was a study of Reserve Bank about the current banking facilities in India, only I think 89,000 villages had the banks. Now it has gone up, I don't know. It is not recent figure, it's 2 years back. What I am trying to say, because the bank has no motivation unless you get them some money from the transaction, they have no motivation to open the branches. Say in Belgaum on the main road, they will open 10 branches after every furlong because they are getting a business there and it's a business road. But they will not go 50 kilometers from inside Karnataka from here and open a bank because they don't have any motivation to open the bank. So for doing a business, bank needs to get some revenue stream. That's why we are considering, or we are saying that they should need to get 35 paisa per transaction for which the money is getting transacted in the bank. We also say that we need to withdraw the highest denomination currency notes, 100, 500 and 1000 rupees. Because as I explained, these are the vehicles for the cash economy, and it is not only creating a cash economy but the based on cash economy, there are a lot of illegal trades that happen in the country. The all drug mafias, they use cash. The all arms mafias, they use cash. The all Naxalite movements, they are using cash. The all terrorist activities, they use cash. In this country, when I was in US, then 9/11 happened. I used to live in Queens and then travel to Wall Street for everyday work. When this happened, in the next week, in a week of next, this will happen on Tuesday. By next Tuesday, US has seized 772 accounts of probable suspected transactions of money. They seized those accounts because they had accounts. In India, no matter how much bomb blasts happen anywhere in India, there is no account we can see because there is no accounts. People are carrying money in gunny bag. People are carrying money in suitcases. There is a container got FIR, if you remember a year back. The container full of money, cash currency. So the basic reason is we don't have any account to seize. So all the terrorist activities, there is no traceability because all transactions are cash. If you do have some cash transaction, there is no traceability unless you do through bank. So this is another problem, that the vehicle for this transaction is the currency, is the higher denomination currency notes, and that has to be reduced. Now you will ask me a question that if I go to some bhajiwala, if I buy some sabji, go to some panwala, or I go sit in some auto rickshaw, then I need to write a check for auto rickshaw? No. We say that we need to allow certain transactions, say rupees 2000, which doesn't attract any tax, that is a cash transaction allowed for day-to-day life at a time. But then, if I buy a mobile phone tomorrow, which costs me say 30,000 rupees by cash, and if the mobile doesn't give me service, there will not be any legal protection for that. I can still buy a flat by paying 1 crore, in which I will pay 45 lakhs or 1 crore even the entire amount as cash, but there will not be any registration possible for that flat because it's an illegal transaction. It is not considered a legal transaction. So you put a limit of 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, that's a notional figure we have given where the cash transaction is allowed, and it is easy to do the cash transaction with 50 rupees note up to 2,000. You cannot do a 1 lakh rupee transaction with 50 rupees currency note, you will have to carry the money in auto rickshaw. So considering that probable ratio, you need to consider that, okay, this cash transaction allowed, above that all cash transaction will attract, it will not be legal. This is a 5-point proposal, Arthakranti. So I want to understand from you the simulation of this, that with this 2% transaction tax, the country will get enough revenue. Very genuine question. So for that, we made a simulation, which is part of the presentation you can all see from the website. I will not waste your time in that because we have a panel discussion too. So what we said is, we went to the RTGS transaction done in the bank. We went to Reserve Bank. We had 3 months spending there. Our 3 people were working. We consider all the transaction, and at today's condition, when 11,65,000 crore is the tax, indirect direct tax revenue of the entire country, at this juncture, what we have studied and what we have done from the actual RTGS transactions of Reserve Bank and various banks in the country, we can collect with 2% 15 lakh crores of rupees. It is much more than what our government is collecting today. Considering the 3 times or 300% economy is outside the banking economy, which is the cash economy. If that comes to bank tomorrow, the estimate is it will go to 40 lakhs crore. And in that case, we don't have to cut 2%. We can cut 0.5% and still will get the revenue our country is getting today. This is one advantage of curbing the cash economy, of bringing this proposal. The question will come, why government is not doing it? If this presentation is running around for last 14 years, and even Modi, as I said, we had presentation to Modi when he was not a Prime Minister, and we had meeting with him, which he has asked to arrange with several people when he became a Prime Minister. And why somebody is not doing this? Because it's a matter of political courage. We had a presentation to Dr. Manmohan Singh also. We had a letter from Pratibha Patil, who was the President of India, that the day I will sign this bill, it will be a day of a president for me. Then we have a printed letter, she has given us a letter to us. There are Adarsh Kishore Saxena, Mr. Sinha, Yashwant Sinha, the Secretary Sinha, all these people, Narayan Murthy, Azim Premji, a lot of people in the country, a lot of political parties, a lot of social activists, a lot of economists. We all done the presentation to all of them. The only thing for implementation coming is the political courage. But forget about political courage, because that's not in the purview of ours. They will do it when they want to do it, and we will have pressure for the political courage to build. That's not the issue. But the more importantly, we have a solution for the problem. There is a big economical will, and there is a correction in the economical will, which will bring the economy on street, which will bring the economy on the correct direction. That's what we think, and that's what the proposal is calls for. This is not a concept. This is the design. There is a bill ready to keep on the table in the Parliament. There is a complete R&D report ready for any financial institution to consider. There is a 5 crore reward on this if any technical flaws is found in this proposal. There is a 5 crore reward. Rupees 5 crore given by Ramdev, Baba Ramdev. Declared it officially. We have a letter from him. Why I am trying to say this, not to justify the proposal, but saying that this is a solution. We all, including Anna, Azhar and everybody, we have described enough problem of this country so far. We always talk about problems, that government is corrupt, bureaucracy is corrupt, nothing is happening, people are shabby. We all keep on curbing and we keep cursing the people and politicians all the time. But this is the first time somebody has come with a proposal, with a design to implement. We are not discussing only problem of Naxalites and terrorism and industry crunch and the cash crunch and the industry capital crunch and all that. Some figures will show you that. There was a discussion. Mr. Yashwant Sinha has asked us in the meeting. I asked him one question which he replied to me. The question I was asked to him that I studied say 60 years of budget when I came back to India, of the Indian government budgets. What is a budget? For a personal front, let us understand simply what is a budget. In my home, what is my income is, I will base my expenditure based on my income. That's how I plan my personal life. I have 1 lakh rupees salary, I will make expenses not reaching 1 lakh and I will save some money. When I buy a car or buy a house, I will have to distribute that from my upcoming income, the installment of that. That's how I plan. But for a finance minister of a country, this is a very simple question I had to Sinha. For a finance minister of a country, you have another exact reverse situation where he make an expenditure plan. And for that expenditure plan, he has a right to levy. Right or wrong? Any finance minister make an expenditure plan. This is how the rupee will go out. And this is how the rupee will come. You see that two pictures in every budget day. So if they say that my expenditure plan is say 1 lakh crore, this is how, as a constitution, he has a right to levy, but not to levy too much to save. It is just he has the right to levy to match the expenses. That's the right to levy act in any constitution of any country. In India also it is. So they put the levies, various taxes to match the expenditure. So the basic question is, when my income is planned based on my expenditure, how a deficit can come? How? I have not understood this mathematics. And I am not considering here for discussion say the carry forwarding issues, luggages, like the carry forward load. And I consider 1971, 1965, 1984, 1977, where the turbulent years of India, let us forget those budgets. Take the budgets of very normal years. That means I am not able to collect what I am planning to collect. There is one reason. There is a leakage in the revenue pipeline which I have shown you already. Means if I am making expenditure plan of 1 lakh crore, 1 lakh crore is not getting collected. It is getting collected to say 40,000 crore only. There is another hitch to it. In last 60 years, barring 2 years, war years, barring those two, not Kargil, Pakistan and China, both Pakistan wars and China also. Barring those years, in last 60 years, not any year government has met their 100% of expenditure plan. If they have decided to plan, say, expend out 1 lakh crore, they have not crossed 60,000 crore any year, average. They have not even expended what they have planned to do expenditure for. And they have not even collected what they plan to collect for. That's the issue. Means for 100 rupees expenditure plan, they have always collected not more than 60 rupees. They have not spent more than 60 rupees. And for the 100 rupees collection they want to get against that, they have never collected more than 40 rupees. I understand why they are not expense it out, because they did not have money to expense it out, because the collection was only 40. So we have to work on source. We cannot work on resource. Expenditure is resource and the revenue is source. So where the pipeline leakage is, that's why this proposal stands outstanding, because it exactly determines the issue and it gives a solution for that, where my revenue pipeline is strengthened and it is ensured. This question when I asked Sinha, he said, no, it is not that simple, it is very complicated. I said, those jargons, I don't need anything to me. What I am trying to understand, just explain me as a student of economics. They said there are a lot of loans and I said, understand. So if you are saying that I am not able to collect because of what? Because your lot of projects are delayed and expenditure are bounding. Why that is building up? Because you are not able to execute. Why not able to execute? Because I don't have money. Again the question comes to the same thing, because I am not able to collect the money. I don't have a source to feed this. I don't have enough source to feed this. And carry forward loans, I understand. Take it as out. Still, this fundamental question is not answered. Second thing which I always get confused and which I always struggle with to understand is, my inflation rate is how much today? I think it is 5.5, 6, right? GDP growth, yeah, I think 5.5 is inflation. GDP growth is how much? 6.5 or 5.5, 6. And what is my cost of capital? The interest on the loan I take, 11.5%. Tell me for a businessman, or tell me a situation, which is I'm just trying to point out. I may not get something, so please try to explain to me, if somebody can. My inflation is 5.5%, and my cost of capital is 11.5%. My GDP growth is 6.5%, and my cost of capital is 11.5%. Where the gap will be addressed from 6.5 to 11.55. If I want to borrow money today, I have to pay 11.5%. And my GDP is going to 6.5%. Where this will end to? Wherever I will be able to match, wherever I will be able to gap this, address this gap by any other means. I'm not saying my GDP has to be 11%, that is a too dreamy expectation to do. But I can say my cost of capital can come down to 3%. Why it is not 3%? Because banks don't have money. Why we don't have money? Because there is a cash economy bigger than the bank economy. That's simple reason. Because there is no reason for a bank to keep money if it comes to bank. Bank in a business is in business of money. Whatever money they collect, they have to distribute. Either through loans or they have to fund to some projects. Bank cannot keep money. We keep money in bank. Bank don't keep money themselves. They have to lend it out. And if they don't have enough to lend out, they have to borrow it by deposits. Bank functions on that. Bank has debit and credit match every day. So my bank doesn't have enough fund, enough capital to feed my industrialists, to feed my person who need capital from bank. If they are feeding at 11.5% and my GDP is growing to 6.5%. This gap will always kill our country for any kind of becoming a superpower. So country will become superpower is a very, very dreamy statement, a very fashionable statement. This with this disparity and with this two-level layer, one is 20 rupees per day and other is 10% people of the society who invest on Wall Street, not even 10%. Let us consider 10%. 60% of the population doesn't have enough money to even eat. This disparity will kill our country. It will not make a superpower no matter what you think. No matter how much calculation you put and plan on the piece of paper. So unless we generate money in this country, and Wall Street is not a place, Dalal Street is not a place where the wealth is created. It's a place with playing with currency and speculative currency, that is true. Wealth comes from manufacturing, wealth comes from agricultural, and for these both sectors, people are ready to work. There are 4 lakhs people come on street every month who are unskilled labor in this country. 70-80% of them can be straightway used for the farming, agricultural activities, and 30% can be trained and used for industry as a workforce, as a human capital, as a human resource capital. And those people are not getting any job. There is nothing happening in agriculture. What is the percentage of agriculture? 52% population thrives on agriculture, direct or indirect. Contribution in GDP is 14%. That is also gone up recently. It depends on the monsoon, how it goes up and down. Why it doesn't? Because the people working in these 2 sectors, we are feeding the economy doesn't have a purchasing power. Unless government has something to do with the source correction. This source correction is Arthakranti. There are a lot of flows in the presentation that how it will increase the capital, how it will curb the terrorist activities, how the cash flow has created a problem. There is a social unrest because of cash, not flow of cash. There is a social unrest because of disparity. All these reasons you have to go why asking question, and at the root cause you will reach somewhere. Here you will find there are only 2 root causes. One is there is no enough capital in the country, and there is no credit for the people. All our economic policy, that's why finance and economics are different. The country is not run out of balance sheet always. Economics is the science of resources. How powerfully you use resources, based on that, the country gets a different economical path. And this is the proposal given to our current Prime Minister and the board group of ministers. Arun Jaitley has his reservations about this because it says, his one reservation was very funny. He said it cannot be so naive. Solution cannot be so naive. And I think it's merely an opinion than the studied statement, because there can be solutions which are very simple for bigger problems always. Who know engineering will know that, lawyer may not know that. Engineering student will understand this. The solutions lies in very simple hitch somewhere in the wheel. The problem is very simple always. Solution is very simple, problem can be bigger. So he said that it is not like the cash economy is really making this country to work. I think that statement as a finance minister I did not like much as a person. He is entitled to say that, he has authority to say it more than me, I am nobody. But I did not have anybody considering that this country will, it has run on the cash economy for several years, it will run, I don't think it will happen that way. That's why our country there is no traceability of unaccounted money. Including politicians, bureaucrats and all kind of people who are in illegal activities, they are running on the cash economy. There is no traceability. Police cannot go and catch anyone. Because there is no traceability. We don't know who has how much money. People come with a gunny bag full of money. In front of me, one person came when I bought my Xylo in the same shop and he said, I want to buy a Xylo. So he said, give me check. वो check big नहीं है. वो gunny bag रखा उसने ये पैसा है लेना है तो लो. बोलता नहीं कैश नहीं ले सकता छोड़ो बोलता है वो फोड़ वाला लेने को तैयार है उधर जाता हूँ मेरे को क्या गाड़ी चलाना है मेरे पास कैश पड़ी है there is no obligation on that person to declare where from he bought gunny bag full of money. There is no obligation for a politician where he spent 10 crore for a normal corporate election where from he brings the money. There is no obligation on him. His affidavit doesn't match what he exactly does. So we can live in the world of fantasies that yes, we have affidavit from an electoral candidate, so there is no problem. We can live in the world of fantasies, but that's not a fact. And we need to somehow understand that there is a problem, there is some problem in the economic thing, and we need to find a solution for that. So Arthakranti gives that solution to you. I am ready to discuss with anybody after the session, or even afterwards. I will give my card, phone number, you can contact me. If you are convinced, then only work for this. But I can tell my experience. A person came from Wall Street, worked for several countries, several companies. I got completely sold to this idea because when more and more I consider every day, I think that this is the root cause. And this is a problem, solution for the root cause. Because you can give a symptomatic treatment which we have given for last 60 years, but I think this country needs a root cause treatment. Now it deserves that with 125 crore population. Thank you so much for calling me.
I went through the proposal of Arthakranti and I believe that there is a solution for a problem that we are facing. I was happy that two root causes have been identified before suggesting a solution. One is the black money, another is the corruption. Black money has played a havoc in our country. Almost we have a parallel economy. One IAS retired officer wrote an article wherein he stated that a Noida civil engineer has made rupees 1,000 crores worth assets, out of which rupees 100 crores are in the form of diamond. He must have encouraged the diamond industry, but at the same time what he is going to do with those diamonds I do not know. But still, this is the position. He also says Public Works Department is one area where a lot of black money is generated. Second is real estate. Third is trade. Real estate, Deepak has already explained to you how 40% cash and 60% check money is given. It's a reality, every one of us knows it. Whoever has a house must have paid 40% cash, 60% by check. Then we have a trading community which is known for under-invoicing and over-invoicing. And by under-invoicing, they try to generate black money. Then donations to political parties. Now this is all because of the cash transactions which we have allowed. The result is generating black money. I do not know whether people around here know. When Yashwantrao Chavan was the finance minister of our country, there was a tax of 96.25% on the incomes above 1 lakh in those days. So if you earn 1 lakh of rupees, you had to pay 96,250 rupees to the government. Now tell me who will do this? Earn money for the government or earn money for yourself? Now this is the situation which we have created, and black money is the reason. Now there has been a talk about bringing black money which is there in other countries which our people have kept. Now instead of doing this exercise, I personally believe that first try to discover the black money within the country, which is very easy. Trying it with the Swiss bank is difficult. They are very tough people. They ask for a proof. You give a proof that people have kept money, then we will release the list. Now this is a difficult exercise. There are political reasons, there are economic reasons. Swiss economy runs on the money that is kept by all of us, and therefore all other countrymen. And therefore, when we look at the black money, you can discover a lot of black money within the country. First plug those loopholes here, try to arrest corruption, try to discover black money. That itself will help you in solving many problems. Now, why there is no political will to do that? Political will is not there because there are politicians involved in this entire process. There are people involved in this process who have vested interest in politics because they send these politicians to parliament or the legislative house to protect their interest. And in this process, it has become difficult for any finance minister, for political reasons, not to talk about the black money. Only when the Supreme Court directs you to submit a list, you are submitting a list. But you are only talking about black money. Why do you do that? You discover money. It is easily available within the country. Try to find out what is that black money. Try to see that this black money does not remain or is not at least generated further. Now for this, the solution is suggested here, but for this solution to be implemented, there has to be completely transactions through banks. So each transaction has to take place through bank. Banking habit has to be developed by people. It is people's participation in this program which is important. Now they have to open an account, they have to do everything through bank. Now, a reference was made to be a vegetable vendor for whom you have to pay cash. Now, we can make it entirely a cashless economy by organizing these vendors and making plastic money as the money, credit card, debit card. Now, they are used to mobiles, they will be used to also these credit cards. So, why not abolish all cash transactions? Ask everyone to do any transaction through a credit or a debit card. Even today, some organizations are not ready to accept your debit card. Debit card means you have money in the bank account and you have a debit card. If it is a credit card, they can doubt. But if it is a debit card, they should not doubt. But still, our people are accustomed to that. Then Deepak quoted an example that when you do some transaction, you don't want a bill, you don't want to pay. Now there is one canon of taxation that each person should contribute to the exchequer. Therefore these direct taxes, indirect taxes. Now what reference he has made is to only indirect taxes. Now if there are people who have got lot of money, they need to contribute to the exchequer through direct taxes. So I do not subscribe to a view that everyone should contribute only through this transaction tax. Now everyone is buying, purchasing power is there and they do it. But direct tax has to be there for those people to reduce inequalities and for those people who have a lot of incomes. Now that can be a tax which is reasonable. Now the rate of tax which was higher, we have brought it down to a very sizable level. Now it should be still brought down. And a promise has been given by our finance minister recently that he will support the middle class people. He says that middle class people are suffering and they should be protected. Now middle class people always contribute to the process of economic development. It is the maximum contribution which comes from the middle class people, because they are all salary earners, their taxes get deducted at source, they cannot hide any income, and they need some protection. Now that is apart. So some direct taxes must be there, is my view. Transaction tax, if you want to implement, you will have to make everyone have to have a bank account and do all their transactions through bank. Organize the unorganized sector, train them for using the plastic money, and I think that will help us to collect a lot of money for the government. This is one solution. Second leakage is in the form of corruption. Corruption is a matter of mindset. Now we are so much used to corruption that any work we want to do, we say that how much money I have to pay and then get the work done. Now first we have to change our mindset. Come what may, I will not pay anything. I will get my work done according to the procedure. Now why we do this is, there are many people who don't have documents to get their work done. Sir D.H. Robertson says, money which is a source of so many blessings, money which is a source of so many blessings to the mankind, is also a source of peril and confusion. So if you really want to use this money properly, it has to be channelized in a proper manner. And for that reason, I think tax structure needs to be corrected, but not only by introducing an indirect tax because it is paid by everyone, but also we must have some reforms on the direct tax. Direct tax code is going to come. We are delaying all those things. There are solutions available, but political will is not there. There should be a direct tax code. The direct tax should be reasonable. It should be so reasonable that tax compliance must be 100%. Now why all these things happen in USA or UK? One is honesty of people, another is wide coverage of taxation, and we are trying to borrow things from Australia. So it is all Australian public finance which our finance ministers have tried after 1991. We have to come down to Indian situation. And what is prevailing in India, Justice Mahadev Govind Ranade made a statement in those days, and he said, India should not borrow blindly the Western philosophy. We must apply it to our own conditions. What exists in India, that we must see. Now in the present system, we have retro taxes, we have tax terrorism in the country. We are afraid of the tax. That tax should be friendly. We should comply with the tax. Our compliance must be more. We must be friendly with the tax collectors. But that is not happening. These two issues, in case of retrogation of tax, Supreme Court gave a verdict in the Vodafone case. And they said this retrogation has to be removed and the authority lies only with the Parliament. And the Parliament has to decide how this can be avoided. Then no companies from the foreign countries will come. You may borrow foreign capital and all that. But this is only possible when you avoid all such things. Now why people wanted to come through other countries and establish companies in other countries and come to India? They preferred a Mauritius route to come to India because of the tax system that we had. So it needs lot of revamping and replacement of some taxes, minimum tax rate and maximum revenue. So that kind of a principle has to be applied if we have to succeed on this count. Ours is a very vast country. Credit worthiness is not there, but we have multiple credit agency system in our country to see that we reach every person, but we have not reached still. So there are so many ticklish issues involved in this, and this can be implemented provided we create a climate. We have to create that kind of a banking climate in the country so that we can implement such solutions to solve the problem. I hope in the years to come we will be able to do that, and I congratulate Arthakranti people for floating this solution for discussion. And if discussion takes place and if the pressure, democracy works on pressure groups. If the pressure group is created on the government, I think we will succeed in getting what we want. Thank you very much.
Today banks are paying people not to come to the bank. If you come to the bank, you are charged 100 rupees because to keep the manpower to service the customers is getting very expensive. Now I feel that an issue that diminishes, there are indices of corruption over different countries, and it's found that when an income level of about $2,500 to $3,000 to $3,000 is reached, the indices of corruption in that country fall. We are coming out of a very bad phase of lopsided economic development, where there is always a heavy index of corruption, very strong index of corruption. But I mean, this corruption will remain there in all. I don't want to sound like Arthakranti, corruption is a global phenomenon, but it is there. Today, I think some Chinese general has been found with some $98 million in cash and things like that. But whatever it is, it's an index that is falling in India. I mean, it's falling and it will fall. And to tamper with an economic system which has been developed, the direct tax code that he talked about, the reason it can't be implemented is because, as Mr. Kulkarni will tell you, the law is so complex on taxation and so settled that the DTC, which has been framed in different language, is prone to various types of interpretation, and they don't want to risk going to court and getting revenue stuck up for years together. So these are new things. The novelty of the idea attracts one, but if it's utopian, I think we should think it all the way through before we go in for it. It's a lovely idea. We should really work it out in our mind properly, then discuss it thoroughly with everyone. But before, moving on to a completely different growth path, I mean, going to in a different direction, one should think out the consequences of this non-cash economy that we're going to subject our country to. But
I will not take too long. It's a lovely idea, sir. Very, very appreciated. First thing I would say is one addition. Instead of banks, also at posts, they have more reach in the country than banks. And let's use the post office, the beautiful Indian post office system to reach your goal of maximum coverage of Indian population. Point number one. Point number two is the demographic story of India somehow does not seem to figure in this, because that's a huge changing number. And the demographic dividend plus the unemployability numbers, those are two related factors that are going to cause less money to the children sitting here. If they are unemployable, they are not going to put as much money into the economy with the static analysis that you must have run for your simulation as if they were employable. That factor is not being paid attention to in addition to the corruption items. So I would focus on the unemployability and the demographic dividend. That is a huge number that will come into the pipe, to the revenue pipe that you are thinking of. So that is all, and let's go ahead with the discussion. Uday?
Deepak, may I just add one thing? The role of a taxation system is not just the collection of revenue. It is the amelioration of inequality in society, which Professor Kalkundar talked about. Now, in this new system, we don't have any way of taking from the rich and giving to the poor. Now, the rich have a lower propensity to consume anyway. Almost 1,000 rupees. They would hardly consume in food and other things, they consume very little. So a lot of that money will remain in banks, will remain as savings and so on and so forth. And there's no way to take it from them if you don't have any tax. If you abandon the 52 taxes, and you can't take it from the rich and give it to the poor. This role has to be amplified. I would like some explanation from you on how you're going to have a progressive tax system where not everyone pays 2%. Some people have to pay much, much more because they are so very wealthy and we have problems, social welfare problems to attend.
Talking about is how the really rich could be taxed more. I've always felt that in practice, in practical life, there's always what is called a sliding scale whenever you buy something. We have it in civil engineering. For instance, if I am required to put a tender to put in, say, about 10,000 meters of a pipeline, I give a rate. Per meter, this would be the rate. And then there is also what is called a sliding scale, which tells me if this quantity increases by 10%, how much does the rate come down to? You know, larger the quantity, lesser is the rate. Something, this happens everywhere in life. You go to buy ordinary vegetables in the evening. You say, the lady says what they call it? Those 2 pennies per rupee. They'll say, I buy 4, how much are they going to give it? Naturally, you expect the price to go down. In this sense, I've always thought, fine, go ahead and tax higher the high bracket people. But how could you possibly give them an incentive? Why not a sliding scale? I mean, this is loud thinking. It's for the economists to tell me whether it is workable. Now, the more tax he pays, according to me, the rate should taper out. Give him an incentive to pay more, declare more income. Which unfortunately, as per the president, we were just hearing Dr. Anil tell us that at one time the taxation rate was as high as 96%. Obviously, the inclination to hide your incomes was much higher then. But then, why not the other way around? Give me an incentive to declare a higher income. Reduce the taxes at what cutoff point it should be, where it should be tapered is for the statistical people to decide. But I have always felt, I have in fact talked to a couple of income tax commissioners also on this. The fellows throw the ball back at me. No proposal, Madrila. But what are you for then? I mean, I'm just a civil engineer, but if it is worth considering, I think this will give an incentive to the higher income people to come out and pay better taxes. You should in fact be very proud to say, last year I earned 1 crore of rupees, this year I have earned 2 crores because I am required to pay lesser taxes. This doesn't happen for some reason. It's for the learned people here to tell the civil engineer in me how this could be done.
Yeah. I think first of all, I'm very grateful to all of you for listening to this with technical claims, the presentation carefully and pointing out very honestly what you really feel in that. I hope I remember all of your points and try to answer one by one. The implementation plan for this, what we have proposed, is not less than 4 years. So it is not an overnight story like Richard Nixon. With a stroke of pen, he will change the regime. That will not happen. The first and foremost part of that was a bank inclusion, which I think with what Narendra Modi is trying to do, it has already kicked off. And I understand it will take another year's time for him to get at least 35 crore accounts in the bank. It is not a gigantic task. Like sometimes what happens, the strength becomes the weakness and weakness becomes the strength. That cat and mouse game always goes on in the economy. Because there are no banks, nobody is using bank. And because nobody is using bank, there is no bank. That's a trap we are in. So unless, like he very nicely said, post offices or banks, both are any financial institution for that matter, which central government owns or any legal authority owns, not a Wells Fargo kind of connection where the money lenders are private. Any structure is welcome. And I think what happened to Manarega was they started distributing that amount through post office, like a money order coming for the rural people. And then the people who were distributing their amount started getting money on that. So unless it is my bank account, it is not going to help. The mechanism cannot be through a person or through a body. It has to be through my own account or in my own account. So I think bank inclusion, once it happens, then what your other point was, is the slab of taxes. I think I will give one statistics to you, and there are definitely Chicago School of Economics, London School of Economics, neoliberalism, all that what with my little knowledge I studied. And they are not suited to this country, that is for 200% sure. We don't have any kind of, as I am giving examples of US and UK does not mean this presentation is made out of their current financial scheme. Actually, US is the worst financial system running in the world. To be honest with you, because I worked on Warsaw, I know anybody better than anybody. Because the country has a 16.7 trillion debt and a GDP of 14 trillion, that can be a worse situation the country can be. Which US is, there are reasons for that. But that's not topic. What I understood last 4 years, I've seen the balance sheet of government. They have given farmers 70,000 crore package as a subsidy for whatever the loans problem they have. But every year they have given tax rebate to industry to the tune of 5 lakh crore average. So higher paying higher tax doesn't mean anything at the end of the balance sheet. I mean, industries have paid more taxes, I understand, and they got more rebate back from the government. You see the balance sheet. That means there is certain things which are failing here. I mean, the collection leakage and what we talk. I understand tax is not only about revenue collection, it is all about society equilibrium also. But that starts with, like, I will give example in Mumbai, we made pensioner people. One of the pensioner person asked me a question that I get only 10,000 pension. I am a retired teacher. And you are taking 2% for whenever the 10,000 is deposited to my bank. You are saying 200 rupees will be cut out of that. That is not fair. Or 2,000 rupees will be cut out of that. That is not fair. Not 200 rupees. I said, no, consider, forget about everything else. I said 10,000 when you get how you spend. He said, I spent 2,000 in say grocery, 1,000 for conveyance. All that he noted down. So average we take a case where they said we spend around 6,000 to 7,000. And because we live very economically, we try to save some money for our future, for any medical problems. I said, when you are paying 3,000 for grocery, you are paying 17% on that as a tax. You don't have to pay tomorrow. So what your grocery needs you are paying 3,000 for will be sufficient to pay only 2,000. For your petrol, you are paying say 76 rupees in Mumbai. You don't have to pay more than 43 rupees per litre. So the expenses will, your take home will be with all your current living standard will be not more than 4,000-5,000 in 10,000 pension. So it is not that a poor will pay the same and the rich will pay the same. If I am receiving 1 crore in my account every day, I will have to pay 2 lakhs on that. It is in my proportion of my income. So it comes to that. So I understand how we have developed as a country from a closed economy, socialist pattern and Gandhian socialist pattern to the current open market. And I have been worked on Wall Street. I am very firm believer, yesterday's lecture, if you have listened, that it is not a system which world runs or developed country runs suits to this country at all. Because this country has a different social DNA and we have to have an economic system which will cater to that social DNA. And Arthakranti consider that because today I am starting struggle with making somebody credit worthy first. Let us not apply neoliberalism or high advanced developed countries tax regime rules to these people because they don't have even a bank account. They don't have a financial identity in the country. So let us get that structure first, that's Arthakranti says. And these are the numbers we can always, tweak with. Like we said that we are saying 2,000 rupees cash transactions. 2,000 mein kya aata hai? A very big person asked us. I said you can give it 5,000. But 2,000 में क्या आता है इसका अगर आपको ये सवाल आपके दिल में उठता है तो आपके ये सोचना चाहिए कि इसको 20 रुपए रोज इनकम है उसको तो कितना महीने का आता है उसको 2,000 रुपए में क्या आता है का कुछ वर्थ मीनिंग है क्या उसके लिए और वो 61 करोड़ पॉपुलेशन है so that's why I say that we have to apply that judgmentally properly so in our implementation plan when we have given 2 years for deciding the tax rates also the 2% or 1% or even you can put some people tax free that way. We can always consider, right, that this kind of income will not attract any tax, forget. Then it will cut off all the line. You will not have the problem of 2% on everybody also. People who don't have more than say poverty line income will not pay any tax no matter how much money they have, doesn't matter. First come to their bank because there will not be any cash economy there. So these are things we can always consider. I am really grateful for that. As you rightly said, there is one very big politician, I will definitely not name him. He asked me a question after the presentation here, very patiently. He said, this is a fantastic idea, but what will happen to the money I have, or we have? Of course, he did not say himself. He said, our people have a lot of cash, so what will happen to that? I said, we can always bring VDS. He said, no, BDS has a bad experience. I said, what about that? He said, when last time government bought BDS, they started raiding those people again and again every year. Because they got the names who can be probable traitors. I said, but there will not be any regime to raid you. There will not be any tax department. So who will raid you? There will not be any tax return. So who is waiting for that submitting of tax information? Nobody. Tax is written at a bank and the tax return statement is ready at the bank itself. He said, no, in that case, if we give a 2% thing, I think a lot of cash will come in the Indian economy. And he said, I am very serious about this. I am serious to do that. But that has to happen. Because I personally feel, and there are both sides, I understand, as we go with the proposal, we may have to consider certain things. But today, as I again said, I am saying, electorate candidate declaring as 50 lakhs of my affidavit, said in front of magistrate, the expenses he made for the constituency is 50 lakhs, where he is spending 6 crores. And we are living in the world of fantasy saying, fantastic, very honest people. So we have to address these issues in our country for these people. The other point came for these people, as he said, that it is not what they will do tomorrow. I can see whatever unemployment we have and whatever the institutional education, because of the education commercialization happened in last 15 years in the country, where private colleges, I am not against them, I am just trying to say in different aspect, where a lot of students where I got graduation, they do not have anything to work on today. That's the issue. Unless again we correct the source there, their contribution to economy, I don't know if what is their contribution to their own life first. That's the biggest question we have to understand as a socio-economic issue. Because I don't think an engineer getting engineer today like we and he got some years back, we used to have a prestige in society that we are engineers. People will have put, he's engineer and people will look up. I don't think now engineers are any more respected because we are too many in numbers, to be honest. The same condition with CS and same condition with, so all faculties are getting seized to the populous numbers where we have no significance for them. So for that we need to find the infrastructure first, which is beyond Arthakranti, where the country has to manufacture something here, which yesterday I said that we got a long finger in 91. We should have got a manufacturing finger rather than service finger. Because that has really led us to a very big disaster future. People who believe that IT has given a prosperity to this country, I would like to correct them, at least of course from my point of view. I worked in IT myself. It has given definitely some swelling to the country for some cities. For the overall student or overall population of the country, it has not helped a lot. It has created a big disparity. So for this, also whatever manufacturing house we would have been, we would have a lot of people would have hand work, their hands would have work. But now that's the biggest problem than this. So Arthakranti, but what I think more is for this proposal is always the prestige to the human life. See, I am not a commodity in human life, a human being. That's why development going in the wrong direction as our country is going is not a development we are really doing, to be very honest with you. Erin Brockovich happened in US, there are everyday Erin Brockovich happening in India, on every sector, where people are getting curbed their natural instincts. So I think in a future path, India will have to consider development model, but Arthakranti will bring a definitely prestige to every human being. And I think our country, like a chessboard, I always give this example, what is powerful on chessboard is a queen. But who has the prestige is the king. When the prestige ends, the game ends. Queen can remain on the game will go on. Whether queen is there or not, game will go on. If power is there or not, life will go on. But if you lose your prestige, the game is over. And when the two kings remain on the chessboard, the game is not win or lose, it's a draw game. So prestige cannot defeat prestige. The prestige can always crush power. Our country orientation, because of the whole political scenario and the disparity in society has become, we are becoming power oriented, and that is really killing the problem, people and aspirations of a lot of young people. We need to go to the prestige orientation, and Arthakranti will bring them.
Your proposal is not income neutral. You see that normally the income tax system, the fiscal system, has got two elements. One is the direct taxes are progressive, and the indirect taxes are neutral, income neutral, generally regressive, because poor people consume much more. Now, the progressive part of it also is for many other things, not only to reduce inequalities, also to the weapon in the it's a weapon in the hands of the government to direct investment in backward areas or in certain preferred areas of policy and so on and so forth. You are withdrawing this weapon from the government. This is a fiscal policy which has got, the government will not be able to direct anything. It is just an automatic thing that goes on. You will collect 2% of transaction tax on every transaction, but you won't be able to direct investment when it comes to you, because not the government investment, the investment of the corporate sector and so on and so forth. So these are couple of things which I would like you to think about also. And the progressive part of income tax, of fiscal policy, that we have an obligation to take from the very rich and give to the poor. That is also lost, I think. These are two things that will be sacrificed.
Earning is not based on that. Earning is based on what you deserve. I may buy, I may not buy. I may buy and I may buy in installment. I will hide that. If I suppose you put a tax on paying and you say below 1,000 rupees payment there is no tax, I will pay you in the installment of 500 rupees whole of my life, 365 days every day 500 rupees and avoid the whole tax. So there we have to find that always. That's why receiving. And bank transactions are traceable. That's the beauty of it.
That only the transaction you are or the person who is receiving the money should be taxed. We should avoid the tax system itself, sir. Let everybody should have the account in the bank. Even to a sabji wala also can swipe the card.
Yeah.
Okay, automatically the money will come to their account. Every money which is coming to the account, is it receivable or transacted to one person to other, it should be taxed by the government or by the bank. That means tax means a percentage of should be deducted from every transaction. If it is 50 paise or if it is a 2000 rupee, whatever it is. Otherwise, if you allow anybody to utilize a 200 rupee as just a menial money or transaction of money taking place in between, there will be a loophole of tax payments. Now, main thing is that account should be there. Every transaction should be done through the bank. Then everyone has to put the money in the account. There will be no black money, sir, because that cash is immaterial. And this is the way we can sort out the problem, sir.
I think principally what you say is right. If you do a practical life.
Yeah, we have to put it into practice.
No, I'll tell you.
Yes,
Let me answer.
Sir.
The first and foremost important thing is there has to be a system where your transactions are noted down.
Yes.
And that is a bank.
Yes.
So that is the first step.
Yes.
Second thing, in our day-to-day life, we do so many transactions of money. You might give a gift to somebody. You might buy a very... So you need to always have a balance in mind that for what worth I am working for what. So that's why the cash economy has to be there. I'm not saying no, because when the disparity in the country where 20 rupees per day is the income of 61% people, you cannot bring a bank economy and make them deprived of the any economical situations. So we have to wait till then. Even today, when Britishers have lowered down the higher denomination currency from 100 pound to 50 pound some years back, and they are thinking of demolishing even 50 pound now, going to 20 pounds higher note. That is also after 222 years of running that economy, various paths and streams and things. So in our country, we need to first understand why people are being, why Nehru was bringing socialism. What was the reason? He was against capitalism, was what? No. The DNA of the country was such that we have to cater all people. That's the basic principle of a constitution. That no matter what I bring, it may be innovative, it may be first class, it may be high class, but unless it caters to the last person in the pipeline, there is no use. So we have to keep a stages of implementation. Cashless economy will happen also by the will of the people. If they think that I am getting my money, I am getting traceability, I am getting loans with 2%, my things are very cheaper now. If that confidence they get in the economy, people will pay. Like it happens, 7 crore of accounts got opened in bank because of Jan Dhan, which was zero balance account by default with 1 lakh of Bima for every account. People still have put 6,000 crore in that. So people will always come forward in paying you money if you make it very easy. If the governance is good and it is not a raid or it is not tax terrorism. Our country has to go stage by stage. That's why we said that cash economy certain extent is important. For that we need to have some currency, which is a currency note which is 50 rupees we said. It can be 100, that also we said. I'm not saying 50 is from the day one, it can be 100. But you cannot bring 5,000 rupees note. That is most stupid thing to do, which they are doing anyway. They are trying to bring, the proposal is in front of Parliament. One of the bill is that. 5,000 rupees currency note. I mean, that will be a straightaway cash economy vehicle. It will go to the people who have 10%, people who hold 80% money of the country. It will not go to common man.
Deepak, I've got a dumb question, as usual.
The thing is dumb.
You see, you are trying to dismantle the entire existing taxation system. Am I right?
Dismantle from the point of view of demolition. See.
No, virtually. I'm very sure there are a lot of chartered accountants sitting here. There are a lot of boys and girls whose parents are going to be involved in, I would say, the taxation industry. Big question mark. Somebody shout, what's the matter?
What will they do?
What happens to these people? I believe they are by the lakhs in India.
I think
Visit any income tax office, you will find a person doing nothing almost everywhere.
Sir, I will very humbly answer this question.
No, please.
And first of all, let me congratulate you. It is not a dumb question, it's a real question. The tax employees are how many? I think it is around 1 lakh odd thousand people are in the tax department. I'm talking about 125 crore people. For that, 1 lakh people has to sacrifice. And I'm not saying they should be jobless. They will get some other job, which is a good job in finance industry. They can go to banking system. So actually banking will need at least 10 crore of employment in next 5 years with even Jan Dhan. Forget about other Arthakranti. So I don't think the job shift is the issue. The chartered accountants sitting here, they are more there to advise on the financial discipline rather than the financial manipulations. So today's job of chartered accountant has become the financial manipulation. I mean, they are not doing any crime. They are pleasing the client. Client is a god, customer is god. But they are, so what, how much you want to save? They are finding every day new ideas of saving money for their client. But actually, to be very honest, with due respect and due respect from my bottom of my heart, is it not a robbery to the country economy? Don't take it in 100%. What I'm trying to say is, if I am not buying anything, I am not asking for a receipt, I definitely, when I go and buy something and I say, don't give me receipt, I definitely loot country's money, as I feel. And I feel guilty about that. Because I have deprived my country of getting some income through some taxes, which can be a very terrorist tax regime, I understand. But still, whatever the country's law is, I am trying to bypass the law with my intelligence. I found my way of not giving me bill. Na? Like people say mobile phones. In India, there is only missed call concept, nowhere in the world. This is the innovation use of technology, very innovative use. Nobody gets money until everybody is talking to each other without talking. So that is how people have found a very innovative way of bypassing the tax rules and regulations, and chartered accountants are rishis of that. They are PhD doctors of that entire thing, and that's a great knowledge use. But is it in the favor of country? Is it making, and if 125 crore people are deprived of some basic prestigious living, then 1 lakh employees' role can be defined very well. It's very easy task.
Deepak, on a lighter note, without insulting anybody, particularly some of the respected chartered accountants sitting here, this is something that I read when I was a student. It seems there was a question floated around as to how much is 2 into 3. But there were a lot of professionals sitting around. And the first person was an engineer, an electronic engineer. I believe you are electrical, right? And he said, can I have a calculator? The man did a lot of things and he said, it comes very close to 5.999 something. Never uttered the word 6. A lawyer came forward. When he was asked how much is 3 into 2, he said in the year 1977 in Allahabad High Court, SM Kulkarni is gone time. Anyway, he went on to a legal recourse for about half an hour and he said, as per the judgment then and then, in the year, it was declared to be 6.2. Finally, it was a chartered accountant that was asked. He said, please come out. And slowly in his ears he asked, how much do you want it to be?
This is the wisdom difference. He has a lot of wisdom. just have one request. Because of some whatever problem happened today, my apologies for that. But go through the presentation. It's www.arthakranti.org. Go to the presentation yourself. It has all the papers, Parliament bill, every research paper is there. Go through that. I would be very happy, or I would be obliged, if after going through that you have questions, and we can have another session maybe in a couple of months where all the questions, because this is what exactly we want to do. We want to completely debate on that. That's the thing we must do. As he rightly said, sir said that we must debate. That's the purpose of this. So most welcome to have any debate on this, and I'm very thankful to all of you, and of course all of dignitaries that having considered this as a session. It was a very nice meeting all of you.